this weekend at middleweight, Cody Brundage accepting a fight on short notice, and just like Jake Collier, Tim Means, Andrea Fialho, Michelle Waterson-Gomez, all fighters on 3-fight losing streaks coming into this one. Brundage looking to buck the trend and make that 8-5 a shiny 9-5 when he takes on Mamba, Jacob Malkoun. Matt, Mamba Malkoun, a guy who likes to take the fight down to the mat, and Cody Brundage, one of those fighters who's winning every single one of his fights until he loses it. And that really is the story of Brundage since he's come onto the limelight. You go back to his fight on Contender Series against William Knight. He's beating William Knight until he ends up getting finished. And then you look at Cody Brundage, even the last 5 fights. Beats Dalcha Lungiambula in a fight where actually he's losing until he wins. That was one of the biggest Hail Mary guillotines that you're ever going to see, but that set a dangerous precedent if that's a little bit of foreshadowing. He beats Tresean Gore where he, at the end of the fight, we're talking about boxing now? Who's a boxer now? Cody Brundage, one of those guys, wrestled all the way through college, ends up in MMA, has a good wrestling pedigree, but his boxing has gotten better at Factory X Muay Thai. But for Brundage, his last 3 fights, this is where it gets bad. Takes on Michael Olashechuk, looks good with the takedown early.
Last thing you ever want to do in the middleweight division.
Until we get back up, we get bucked, and everything goes out the window. He loses Olashechuk by finish. Takes on Rodolfo Vieira, drops him in the first round. Second round starts, Rodolfo's pressuring a pace, gets Brundage behind the black line. Brundage, well, it worked for me when I took on Dalcha Lungiambula. I'm pulling guillotine. Looks like it's tight. But it's against the black belt, Hunter.
And those 2 losses are quite defensible when you do look at the level of competition.
And then Brundage's last time out against Cedriquez Dumas. Short notice fight against Dumas, just like this short notice fight. Between round 1 and round 2, Mark Montoya, coach of Factory X, says, hey, and I quote, "Hey, wake the fuck up. Let's go." Cody Brundage looked completely lifeless throughout the entirety of that fight. And every time he didn't get a takedown, he looked completely demoralized. And Cody Brundage is another one of these fighters, Matt, taking a short notice fight at middleweight. Trains out of Factory X. His management team's Iridium. You hear a pattern? Josh Fremd was the exact same thing last weekend. Same management, same everything.
That body shot made me get up and go, ugh.
And Josh Fremd ended up losing. So now Cody Brundage takes on Jacob Malkoun. And for Mamba Malkoun, Matt, you want numbers on a page? I'll give them to you.
I don't really, because they're probably not great.
8 takedowns against Al Hassan, 6 against Dobson, 7 against Allen, 9 against Maximo. Jacob Malkoun, a protege, like an early 2000s Mazda of Robert Whittaker. And listen, you don't need a big spoiler on a front-wheel drive car, but Jacob Malkoun's going to burn those tires off with his takedowns.
Evolution doesn't always make you bigger and better, though. It just makes you different. And for Jacob Malkoun...
Evolution is a mystery. One of the great all-time Titantron songs.
My point is for Malkoun, yes, he might train with a Robert Whittaker, who is a guy who really represents being one of the best well-rounded MMA fighters we have, right? Is somebody who uses striking, uses grappling, uses really every component of MMA and go out there and get wins. And for Malkoun, he does feel like that, but it very much is a work in progress. And luckily, he is only 28 years old. And to his credit about Malkoun, which I never thought I was going to say, because I was quite down on him early on in his UFC career, he's made the improvements. Like, his MMA grappling has been quite phenomenal, and I do like the amount of takedowns he can go out there and use. And he does seem to have a good level of MMA IQ to be, hey, when you're a dangerous striker, I'm going to work like hell to get it back down to the mat. But the big issue I do have is, I think Jacob Malkoun's the more well-rounded fighter in this matchup, and I do think his wrestling is going to be good enough to not only defend the takedowns...
I don't think he's more well-rounded.
I think he can defend the takedowns of Brundage. My biggest issue is, though, Malkoun is going to be at a size disadvantage, I think. And it's going to make it that much harder for him to go out there and secure some of those takedowns. And I can see that being a bit of a hurdle that he gets caught on. Because if he's not able to go out there and get his own offensive takedowns, I think it's going to take a lot out of the threat of his striking. And if that's the case, Cody Brundage, in theory, should be able to just stand in the pocket, throw his own boxing combinations, use his wrestling as a defensive tool. And if he's able to just rinse and repeat that game plan, I don't think that's going to completely gas him, right? To where he's not the fighter he is in the first round that he is in the third round. So I think Brundage does have a way to win this fight, but it really does come down to the size advantage, I think.
Yeah, now you're playing mental gymnastics, because for this fight, originally, I mean, we've had Malkoun go through quite a few opponents. He was supposed to take on the Black Wolf. There's a lot of them in the UFC now, but Aliasgat Fiziev, that fight fell out. Then he was supposed to take on Robert Bryzcek. That fight fell out. So Brundage taking this fight on incredibly short notice. It was announced September 5th that this was going to be a fight. And when you look at it from Malkoun, I worry. I mean, AJ Dobson did win his last fight. I'm not a big AJ Dobson guy. However, Malkoun slowed down in the third round of that fight, and Dobson was able to pick up the torch with his boxing. For Brundage, I know he's on a 3-fight losing streak. I know 2 of those 3 are by finish. Was his last fight an anomaly because it was on short notice? Is this short notice nature going to affect him quite a bit? For Malkoun, his last time out, MMA math, tinfoil hat, he sent young Nick Diaz Academy prospect Nick Maximov out of the UFC. Happy trails. Brundage lost to Nick Maximov, so automatically Jacob Malkoun wins. Now, I thought Brundage beat Maximov, but that's neither here nor there. Malkoun, a big favorite in the fight. We have a look at the Topology votes. Matt, surprise to us there to you. I'm going to say over under 90% Malkoun. These folks are crazy.
They'll be under 90, but it'll be the favorite.
Nope.
Oh my god.
616 total votes, 95% Malkoun, 80% by decision. Matt, today I went to a store where you need a TJ Maxx card, even though we don't have TJ Maxx in Canada. That store, HomeSense, and I picked up a book, Kobe Bryant and the Pursuit of Immortality, The Rise. Matt, Mamba mentality, going with Jacob Malkoun.
Like, I have 3 pairs of Kobe's. I loved Kobe Bryant growing up. Like, I love basketball, guys. You understand. Jacob Malkoun, get a new nickname, bud. I have Jacob Malkoun in the matchup. But I don't have, Jacob Malkoun is one of those fighters who's very difficult to project a ceiling on, right? Because he does do pretty much everything okay, but you're worried about what's he going to do to go out there and win ranked fights for 15 minutes, even with middleweight being as shallow as it is currently. So I think he's going to get the win in this matchup, but I still have no idea where Jacob Malkoun is in the middleweight division.
Had a fairly competitive fight with Brendan Allen. Didn't get it done with the strikes, but he just was rinse and repeat with his takedown attempts in this matchup. Both of us going with Australia's own Mamba, Jacob Malkoun, to get the win. Let us know down below in the comments section who you have. Typically, I have Cody Brundage in just about every single one of his fights, and you can tell that hasn't worked out for me lately. Some big-time fights in this card. At the top, you have Fiziev taking on Gamrot. You're not going to want to miss it. Keep it locked in with Fight Day Picks, as we always say. Let's get into it.